Welcome and thank you for attending or watching this presentation on PowerPoint to Google Slides. I'm Greg Beyer, your Distance Education Coordinator at Cosumnes River College, and I'm really glad to have you here, whether you are here live or whether you are here watching the recording. So I'm going to cover the transition process to go from PowerPoints to Google Slides. Also talk about how to make your Google Slides presentations accessible, and then finally talk about the options for sharing those inside Canvas. For today's workshop, I will be relying on the Google Slides that we have access to because we are Los Rios employees, and that's really important for the accessibility tool, and it will also affect some of my comments about sharing. So I'll go ahead and advance my slide, and of course I'll be doing demonstrations for this as well. So going from Google Slides, no, not Google Slides to PowerPoint, that's meant to be Google Slides is better than a PowerPoint or is greater than PowerPoint. Google Slides and PowerPoint are basically the same thing. It's presentation software. The big difference is that, well, two big differences actually. Google Slides is online first, whereas PowerPoint was a desktop application for years and years before it became online. And because of that, Google Slides is much easier to share online. There are some distinct benefits of working with Google Slides. There is a difference in the feature set that's available in PowerPoint versus Google Slides. The transitions or the animations that you might be able to have within a presentation are more sophisticated with PowerPoints. So if you are intentionally creating a presentation that you know you'll be delivering in person to students and you want to take advantage of all the whiz-bang features that PowerPoint has or in your presentation, you might find better options to do that with PowerPoints. But if you're going to be sharing your presentation with students, then I think Google Slides is a much better option for that. And I've got the reasons that are there for those bullet points. One is that Google Slides is responsively designed. And what responsive means is that the width of the what shows on the screen will work on a smartphone. It'll also work on a laptop. It'll work on a desktop. The web page that a Google Slide will change how it appears based on the size of the window that the user is looking at it. Google Slides also is lower bandwidth, so you don't have to download the entire file before you view a Google Slides presentation. You're basically viewing one web page at a time. And so the images that are part of the slide, that are part of the web page, will load much faster than having to download an entire PowerPoint presentation before you can start watching it. And that download for the PowerPoint presentation, even if you are previewing a PowerPoint presentation online, like if we upload a PowerPoint presentation into Canvas, then our students can preview it, right, without downloading it. The preview still has to load within the browser window before it shows. So there's that large file download is a risk with PowerPoint. And then finally, I said available everyone. I should have written available everywhere. All you need is an internet connection and you can access a Google Slide. Again, you don't have to worry about the download for the PowerPoint. I guess that means it can be available to everyone as well. The process for converting a PowerPoint presentation into a Google Slides presentation is basically drag and drop onto Los Rios Google Drive. I put an asterisk there because that reminds me to say that there is a particular feature with accessibility that we can access in Los Rios that you could access in other Google Drives, but you'd have to arrange for that access somehow. There's a software tool that we have a license for in Los Rios, so it helps with accessibility a lot. You can use Google Slides with any Google Slides, any Google account. It does not have to be Los Rios Google account. You don't have to use a Los Rios Google account if you want to share with your students in Los Rios. Those are separate things. There's a sharing process that makes it a bit easier when it's in Los Rios that I'll cover when I get to sharing. But again, that it's just a matter of dragging and dropping. And again, Los Rios Google Drive is a good way to go. And then finally, within Google Slides, there's a file menu and you have a couple of options for sharing. There's a share option and then a publish option. publish option is really nice because it creates a web page out of your Google slide, and then you can embed that inside Canvas, which is a great way to go. I'll be demonstrating that today. And then shares, you create a link to the presentation, and then you can share that with your students. Again, either you can email it to them, I guess. You could also link to that directly from Canvas. And I mentioned that to publish it, you can embed it inside Canvas. The tool to help make slides accessible is called Grackle. Grackle is the name of a software product. We have a license for Grackle here in Los Rios. So any Google slide that is in the Los Rios Google accounts, it's very easy to go to the Grackle, the extensions menu, select Grackle slides and launch. And again, I have that must be done from Los Rios Google. There's a screenshot there. Again, I'm going to demonstrate this as well. And what's nice about the Grackle slides, the Grackle accessibility checker, is it selects, lets you know where you could do some improvements. It also will give you suggestions on how to do that. And you can basically change the dialogue within the Grackle dialogue to help make it accessible. Again, I will be demonstrating that. And then finally, the options for sharing a presentation within Canvas. Within Google Slides, if you go to File and go to Publish, you can grab the embed code, and then it's easy to embed something inside Canvas. On the Rich Content Editor menu bar, there is an embed button. I have a screenshot there. You notice here that in my screenshot, I have the words instructional context for this presentation. I think it's really important that we type some instructional context about the presentation before we have the embed, so that students are reading something about what to expect before they view the presentation. I feel the same way about any file that we upload to Canvas, and of course, any video that we embed in Canvas. Let's let our students know why they should watch the video or why they should view the presentation, what they'll learn from it before they access it. Okay, so let me go ahead and turn on demonstration mode. And the first thing I'm going to do is open up a Google Drive window. So I'm already logged into Los Rios Google Drive. On my local computer here, I have some PowerPoint files. I'm going to take 3 of them, and I'm going to drag and drop all 3 at once. Hopefully you'll see that on my browser window, I'm about to, once I let go of the mouse button, then these files will start uploading. I get a progress in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. Also, these files, which are .ppt files, will automatically be converted to Google Drive files as they are finished. And you can see those 3 icons there, those 3 files rather, listed in my folder. I've got 1920s Blackboard to D2L and progressivism. I happen to teach history, so a couple of these are from my history classes I've used in class. So I'll go ahead and pick on one. I'll select this one from converting from Blackboard to D2L. So I did this presentation for the @ONE project back in 2010 when we were switching. We in Los Rios had made that switch from Blackboard to Desire to Learn, and they wanted me to share that experience, so I did a presentation. I'm going to quickly just kind of tab through here, right? You got an image, you've got some text here. There's an image there, a couple of images, okay. And so from here, again, I could share and then publish and embed. But before I do that, I'm going to run through the Grackle accessibility checker to get its suggestions for making this accessible. And in extensions, the extensions menu, which Google Slides always has, here in Los Rios, we have an extension called Grackle Slides. And then I select the launch button. A dialog opens up on the right side of the screen. It automatically runs through the check. I think it's got 22 different items it's checking for, and it just completed, so I should get my results pretty soon. There we go. I passed 15 of 16 checks. Great. You can see here that it lets me know via red circle and a number which things I need to work on. A slide should have a title. So if I select that option, it'll give me a link to the slide. And I see a title here. The title of this presentation is From Blackboard to Desire to Learn. So I'll need to re-add that using the title field that's part of Google Slides, just like PowerPoint has a title field. And how I can fix that here is if I go to the layout button and then just basically reapply the same layout, you'll see an empty text box appear. You can see where it says click to add title. It's kind of floating on top. So I'm going to select this one that says From Blackboard to Desire to Learn. I'm going to copy this text. Let's try that again. Maybe I have to move this out of the way. There we go. I'm going to copy this text. I'm going to delete this box, slide the title box back down, and basically paste that there. My other slides that have titles, like you see this one with the title glossary, that did not get flagged because the title box was recognized by Grackle. So probably when I created this PowerPoint presentation, I fiddled with the title box in PowerPoint, and that's why this change was noted. And so again, you hopefully saw how easy that was for me to fix. Let me go ahead and go to slide title should be unique. So this is an accessibility guideline. Each slide should have a unique title. If I select that, it'll show me I have 3 slides that have the same title. If I click on slide 5, you'll see the title is a question for the audience. So I know that slide 8 is also a question for the audience. So why don't I just rename these? Let's rename slide number 5 and then slide number 8. Obviously, when I select the slide to edit it, I can either select the slide from the Grackle dialog, or I can select it from the slide navigator on the left. And then here's slide number 13, which is going to be question for the audience number 3. Anytime I want to check Grackle to see if the changes I made fit the accessibility guidelines, I can select that recheck button, or I can wait until the end. I'll go ahead and select that recheck right now, and that first slide title stuff, those should disappear. Okay. Oh, presentation title is required. Let's go ahead and fix that. Multiple titles detected. Well, let's see. Why don't I just edit the title? So that's the presentation itself. That's not necessarily what's on that slide. And I'll say edited the title. Why doesn't, there we go. Document properties. Here we go. Turn off, use a Google Doc name and say from Blackboard to D2L. Okay. Click update. Now let's scroll down, and I've got a couple more items here. Images should have alt text. Okay, alt text is what screen readers will play out loud for our students who are low vision and are using screen reader software. I'll select that. I've got 4 images that need alt text. If I click on the image, I think it's going to be, this question mark here. And there's a nice tag button here, so I can add the alt text within Grackle. I'm going to mark this as an artifact, which means it is incidental. It doesn't matter if someone can see or not see the image, right? The words are what's important here. Has your institution been using the same LMS for more than 5 years, for example? So I'll select update. And I know that's going to be the same for these other ones. Slide 8 is going to be that question again, right? Hit tag. Again, I'm going to mark it as an artifact. And then slide 13. So you notice here on slide 13, I actually have 2 images. This other image already had alt text added to it. I did that inside PowerPoint. And then finally, let's take a look at slide 15. Hey, that's a picture of me. So let's tag that. And I will say alt text. Yes, that is a photo of me. Click update. Okay, and then let's see. Elements should have alt text. So elements, these are elements that are not necessarily images. So I'll click on this group, and let's see what we got here. Oh, this is a group of, well, actually, it's that image that I thought, if I select this item inside Google Slide and I ungroup it, you'll see here that what I did was I took 2 images and kind of slid them together. Yeah, let's go ahead and regroup that. And let's add a tag to there. And I'll go ahead and say, this is the chat dialog in, it's an old software tool called CCC Confer. So let's fix that. And let's find here, let's see, high color contrast should be used. Okay, so color contrast is how dark or light the text is in reaction to its background. If I select that, I've got 2 places where I need to fix that. And here I've got, you can see the text here, especially that blue between the blue background and the blue text is probably not high enough. So I'm going to select all this text. I've got the box selected. I'm just going to change my text color and I'll make it black. I think that'll take care of it. And let's take this other one. I think this might be the same slide. Nope, this is a different slide. I'll do the same thing. Again, change the text color to black. Okay, inline styles may lack clear meaning. Let's see what we've got here. Style changes detected. Oh, because I used italic text instead of, that's how I changed up these two block of text here. I'm just going to go ahead and select all this and make it not italic. So I don't have a style change. Let's see. Yep, same thing here. So select all. And again, I'm going to make it unitalic. And then finally on the third one, for upcoming events, style changes. Well, that's funny. Why don't I just select all this and just make it not bold? Okay, and then finally, empty trailing lines should be removed. So I've got a couple places where I've got a line break. Basically, I hit the enter key at the end of my paragraph, and I'll select that here and basically backspace out of that and do the same thing here. When you're working with Google Slides, I didn't mention this before, but anytime you're working with Google Drive files, so that's Slides, it's Google Docs, which is the word processor, or Google Sheets, which is the spreadsheet, all of your changes are saved automatically. And so I don't need to hit the save button here. I'll select recheck, and I should be a perfect score. 16 of 16 checks passed. Okay, I'm good. So this is all set and ready for me to share. And now I go to the file menu and I have to choose share. And I've got these two options here, share with others and publish to the web. Share with others is how I would choose to share this presentation with individuals, or I could say that anyone can access the presentation. And that is this general access, right? I can type the individuals that I want to share it with. I can type coworkers or even my students. Again, that's just with the individual. And then the options I have for share, I can either, for general access rather, that's with the link. I have these two options here, right? Los Rios Community College District or anyone with the link. In theory, I could select Los Rios CCD, and I could say anyone who has this link in Los Rios is a viewer, so they could view the presentation. I could copy the link, and then I could share that with my students. And in theory, my students could access it, and anyone in Los Rios could access it, sure. But that means the general public could not access it. And that is true, but the person who accesses the link must be logged into Los Rios Google before they can open it. And if they're not currently logged into Los Rios Google, or if their primary Google user at the moment they click on the link is not the Los Rios Google user, then they'll have to enable or authenticate or log in. And boom, I've just talked about a barrier for students, so I don't do that. So anytime I'm sharing something that I've created in Google with my students, I always choose anyone with the link. So what I can do now is I can take this link, copy it. So I've given myself some instructional context. At this point, I remember I've copied that share link, so I can paste the link. I, of course, want to make the link text friendly, and that means not using the raw URL that I have here, but actually changing it to give it some friendly language. And I'm going to change the text to say, from Blackboard to D2L. And now I can hit save and publish. And my students who come to this page, they read the instructional context, and then they can select the link and it'll open up in a new browser window. That's one option for sharing. I think a better option is actually to embed, because I want these images to appear, right? I want the slide to be on the page here. So I'm going to edit this content page, and I'm going to prep this, and then I'll come back and show you the embed option in Google Slides. I've already written my instructional context. I've got an insertion point right now, right here. The embed link is the last button on the Rich Content Editor toolbar. I need to select the Dr. Adkins menu. It'll slide out at the bottom. I select embed. And now I've got a dialog where I'm ready to paste some embed code. So now I need to switch back to Google Slides. And it's on the file menu, and I'm going to choose share and then publish to the web. Publish to the web is a quick way to make it visible to anyone. And again, by embedding it, it makes it easier for my students to see the presentation right away. In the publish dialog, there's an embed tab. And then I can basically select publish. The slide size, I think medium is pretty good. I'm looking at that 960 by 749. Large, I'd be a little bit worried about my students' browser windows, fighting with that, although it's responsibly designed, so that should be fine. So we'll do a test here, and I'll select large. Auto advanced slides, that's if I choose to have the slideshow start as soon as the player loads. I'm going to leave that turned off. But if I were to turn that on and turn on the checkbox to restart the slideshow, that's a great way for me to have a slide carousel, right? An image carousel showing up. But I'm gonna let my students self-pace, right? Take their own pace through the slideshow. So I'll turn those two off. Again, I chose the file menu inside Google Slides. I chose share and then publish. In the publish dialog, I selected the embed tab, and I chose my options in terms of the auto advance and all that. And I select publish. I get a dialog that says, are you sure you want to publish? Yes, I am. And now I'll get the embed code. It's already selected, so I can just select the Command C to copy or Control C if I'm on a Windows computer. And now I can go into Canvas, paste that embed code into the embed code dialog. It's always going to begin with iframe. That's the HTML tag that Canvas uses for embedding. And I'll select submit, and then I'll select save. And now when my students come to this page inside Canvas, they will see the instructional context. I've still got the link there, so I could get rid of that. And then they'll see the slideshow embedded in the page. There it is. And then students can advance to the slideshow at their preference. They should be able to go full screen. There we go. That's how we can share our Google Slides presentations. I hope that was pretty easy for how we did that inside Canvas. I'm going to come back to my presentation, and let me advance to my final slide. This is my thank you / Q&A slide. If you're watching the recording, this link here goes to the Support for Distance Education website we have at CRC. I look forward to helping you and answering any questions that you have. And I hope that this has been a helpful and useful presentation on how you can convert your PowerPoint presentations into Google Slides for easy embedding and sharing through Canvas.